You're mid-sentence, typing an email or talking to a friend, and your phone screen lights up in your peripheral vision. You pause. The sentence derails. Your hand reaches for the device before you consciously decide to move. Your brain registers this digital pain with the same biological urgency as a physical threat in the wild. For an organ evolved for survival, an unexpected stimulus in the environment requires an immediate priority assessment. This is a diagram of the brain's internal alarm system. While the executive control network attempts to maintain focus, the Salience network, anchored in the anterior insula, constantly scans for novelty. When it detects a notification, it flags the event as high priority, demanding immediate conscious attention. The Salience network effectively hijacks your attentional resources. It deactivates networks responsible for deep work and activates centers to process the new stimulus, overpowering your intention. This reflexive shift in focus is an evolutionary survival mechanism operating exactly as designed. Your brain is prioritizing a novel environmental cue over a routine task, performing a priority check it has optimized over millions of years. Once you have seen that notification, your brain categorizes the unread message as an incomplete task. It becomes a piece of unfinished business that your mind is now compelled to resolve. This is driven by the Zeigarnik effect. In the 1920s, psychologist Zeigarnik identified that human memory tracks unfinished or interrupted tasks with significantly higher intensity than tasks that have reached completion. That red notification badge creates an open cognitive loop in your mind. It generates a persistent mental itch, a state of cognitive tension that remains active in your working memory until you find closure. This tension makes it nearly impossible to fully refocus on your original work. Part of your cognitive capacity remains allocated to the unresolved alert, creating a background hum of task-specific tension that demands a resolution. Digital interfaces are engineered to exploit this psychological need for closure. By providing constant visual cues of unread messages and pending updates, platforms keep your brain in a state of unresolved demand to ensure you return to the app. You cannot easily ignore the urge to check because notifications function on a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. Because the content of the alert is unpredictable, your brain cannot determine if the reward will be high value or meaningless until you engage. This is the same principle behind the mechanics of slot machines. The sheer unpredictability of the outcome is what makes the behavior resistant to extinction, driving a feverish compulsion to check the screen just one more time. This uncertainty triggers a release of dopamine before you even see the message. The chemical surge occurs during the anticipation phase, incentivizing you to resolve the unknown. If you are currently ignoring an open cognitive loop in another tab to watch this, consider hitting the like button. It's a simple way to close one small loop of engagement. This is a chart tracking the neurochemical chaos of a phone check. As you reveal the notification, dopamine spikes in response to the novel information. Simultaneously, cortisol, the body's stress hormone, spikes as your system mobilizes to handle the unpredictable incoming demands. Firing your reward and threat systems at the same time creates a baseline state of being tired but wired. This collision silently exhausts the nervous system, leaving you feeling depleted even when you haven't performed much physical labor. You eventually put the phone down and attempt to return to the document on your laptop, assuming your focus will reset instantly. Instead, you experience attention residue. Even when you believe you've moved on, part of your mind remains stuck on the message or timeline you just viewed, creating a lingering cognitive activation. This diagram shows your current working memory capacity. When you switch back from your phone, a layer of cognitive static fills the bar. Your brain is forced to remove relevant information to make room for the switch, but the details of the phone interaction continue to linger, consuming mental energy. Research shows that after an interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully return to the original task. The residue doesn't fade in seconds. It persists as you struggle to regain deep focus. For the average knowledge worker who switches contexts hundreds of times per day, this residue never has time to clear. The static simply layers upon itself until your cognitive capacity is entirely consumed by visual and mental noise. Context switching carries a compounding cognitive tax. The aggregate effect of these interruptions progressively degrades the quality of thought and drives chronic mental fatigue, making even simple tasks feel exhausting. To fix this, the objective isn't to abandon technology, but to systematically reduce the number of open loops. We need to create environments where the brain isn't constantly flagged with unfinished business. One evidence-based strategy is notification batching. By scheduling alerts to arrive at predictable intervals, perhaps 3 times a day, you replace random interruptions with a structured, predictable schedule that your brain can prepare for. Another tactic is creating partial closure. Before you voluntarily check your phone, write down exactly where you stopped and what your next step is. This provides your mind with a signal that the current loop is safely paused, minimizing the residue left behind. Subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the mechanics of attention, and leave a comment sharing the most frustrating distraction you've dealt with this week. By understanding these neurobiological patterns, we can restructure our environments to stop the cycle of constant anticipation.
Reclaiming your attention allows the nervous system to finally de-escalate from a state of permanent readiness and settle back into a state of genuine rest, focus, and presence.